Bet you can't call me now, 'cause you ain't got my new I bet you can't call me now.
Yo, it's Chloe from the Low and welcome to my channel. First thing I need everybody to do just off back is make sure you like and subscribe all my videos. I'm back with another video. And if you like the song that was playing in my intro, that was one of my partner. I'm also a part of a rap duo, Butter P. The link is going to be listed below, so you can click that to download our music, get in tune with us as well. But today, we're not here to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what was I doing before I was Big Boss Chloe. You know, before I was doing Assertive Lingerie, what was the lady doing? What was the jobs? Who was stressing me out? Because I definitely was stressed for sure. Okay, where did I start? I really been working since I was in high school. Like, my first job was in after school matters. I'm from Chicago. I don't know if every state does this, but it was a program in our high school where it gave kids the opportunity to have a job. So I was working in like an IT program. After School Matters had different programs, basically. Like, you can be in sports, you can be in computers, so and so and so and so. So I was in the IT program, and they taught us how to take refurbished or old broken computers and try to refurbish them so that they can send them to other countries for people to use them. So that was cool. I met a lot of people. It was a little bit of money, but I actually used the money that I made from that to pay for my prom and graduation fees. So it came in handy at the time, because for those who don't know, I was a teen mom. I love my baby. And it put a little money in my pocket at the time. I was 17 when I had my baby, so I used that money to do stuff like that as well. Then I got into another program where I worked for the alderman's office, and I basically was like a receptionist. I used to take all the 311 calls and like do all the data entry and stuff. Like, when people would call and report potholes or stuff in their alley, I used to get prostitution calls too. Like, if they thought people were street working on the street, they would call the 311 number and let us know, like, could you come check this out? I think it's some hoes on the corner. So I would put all that data entry in. That definitely was fun, and I got an opportunity to work with a lot of great people and make some good connections. But after that, I became a brand ambassador. My sister was working for a company, and they basically were having her hand out samples at Bulls games. So she was like, this dope as hell, sister. Like, we can make some decent money, and you really ain't got to do nothing but be cute. So I'm like, okay, cool. So she connected me with the company that she was working with, and they hired me on the spot. Like, based off my sister already having a good reputation with them and like having a great personality, they was like, you know what, you guys both are really nice, so come on down. So with brand ambassadoring, you basically are an independent contractor, so you can book your events as you go. So I will book different events basically when I needed money. So as long as I had enough money, I really only worked when I wanted to work. Like, for the most part, like, it's good money. Like, I definitely suggest looking into it, because a lot of people aren't familiar with it, and it's a good occupation to have. And like I said, you can make your own schedule. But after I was doing that for so long, my son started getting a little older, and I needed a little more, so I wanted something on a consistent basis. So I was talking to my friend, and she had just got hired with her mom at the airport, and her mom is really close to me as well. So she like, you know, I can refer you to that too if you want to try too. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I ended up doing the application. I went for an interview. Everybody was cool. They liked me. Boom, I get the job. So it was basically not working directly in the airport, but it was kind of like when people ship packages or ship dead bodies or just doing shipments throughout the airport. I was working in that cargo section. So I would take down all the data entry or whatever, or send the truck drivers their information when they were picking shipments up. And it was giving me the worst anxiety. Like, my edges were falling completely out. And at that point, I just came to the conclusion, like, before I let a job stress me to taking Xanax, I'll just quit. So one day I was in the bathroom. I was telling my dad, I was crying. I'm like, I'm over this shit. I'm finna walk out. He like, no, big kid, just finish doing your job. Just complete it. Work your way through it. And I was in the bathroom. I cleared my face out. And I'm like, you know what? One thing about jobs you choose where you work. So, bitch, you gotta choose to walk up out of here. And that's what I did. I walked out that day and I never came back. And my best friend was like pissed because we used to work shifts together. So whatever work I didn't finish, she had to finish. But she like, bitch, you would quit the day that I gotta finish all your work. You left so many orders, but we got past that. Her mom was understanding. So after that, I was kind of like in a weird space because I didn't really necessarily know what I wanted to do next, but I was figuring myself out. I was kind of fighting anxiety, fighting depression, and I wrote everything down, and I kind of just made a list of what my dream job would be at the time. Because when I was working in the airport, my son was smaller, and one of my aunts was helping me watch him while I went to work. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with O'Hare Airport in Chicago, but traffic is the worst. So I wouldn't drive to work. I was taking a train. And it was a 2-hour commute for me on the train. And then I had to go all the way back to 79th Street to get my son and then come back home. And at the time, you know, based off me not having seniority, I kind of had a fucked up schedule. Like I was working late hours. So by the time I actually made it to my son, and to be like 1 and 2 in the morning, and I'm getting off the train on 79th Street, it was like wild as hell. Like it was something that I definitely didn't want to do, or even have him out, coming out in the cold or whatever. So I sat and I wrote, and I was like, I need a job where I can spend time with my son, have great benefits, be downtown because it's accessible for my home on public transportation, and just be in a chill, relaxed environment. So I literally started going on Indeed, and I was filling out all different type of applications. And 3 months later, a logistics company called me. Like I literally forgot that I had even filled out the application, but when I say it was the perfect job, like everything that I had put on my list was in this job. So I manifested that job, and it was a really good time. I met a lot of people. Like I also ended up even being able to perform like at the Christmas parties and everything. They was cool with me doing music. They were supportive. So that was really one of my favorite jobs, but they dropped my ass because after a while I guess I just wasn't doing enough. I really, honestly, even when I came into the position, I wasn't really familiar with logistics. So I did my best, but at that time, my best was kind of shitty. So I don't knock them for letting me go. I probably would have let me go too, based off the fact that it's their business and they want it to be done as productive as possible. But that gave me the opportunity to work on stuff that I was really passionate about. So I don't take away from that. Like it was a lesson and not a loss for me. So after that, I came to the conclusion, like, I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. Like, the 9-to-5 thing was cool. I made decent money, but I want to work for myself. I want to give my son a good example. So at the time, I wasn't familiar about how I was going to go about it. Like, I had always had plans about Assertive Lingerie. Like I said in my Why and How video, like, I had established that from anger management. So I had that idea, but I just didn't know how to get it going because ultimately I needed a sponsor or somebody to finance it. So I'm like, how am I going to get the money to do what I need to do to start my business? And one of my friends ended up reaching out and was like, well, I'm about to take this bartending class. You should take it with me or whatever. My twin, actually, who I do everything with, that's also my partner, and Butter P. We also have another YouTube. Make sure you go subscribe to that too. BUDDAP. So she like, twin, take this bartending class with me. So I'm like, okay, cool. What I got to lose? We end up loving it. Met a whole lot of people in that class. I can't think of the name right off back, but the class was excellent. It was like cocktail something. But we took the class. I ended up getting all my certificates and stuff, and I was telling my mom about it. She had bartended previously in the past, and she like, we can just go stop at a few bars and you let them know, you just got your basket and see what happens from there. So the first bar clearly gonna have to cut things. The first bar we went to, it ended up being perfect. Like, they liked my personality. I let them know what I had going on. They hired me on the spot. So it was like we didn't even have to go to any other bars. But I still was like, I'm going to reach out to different ones because as a bartender, you can work at different places. But I ended up loving that place. So it was an older crowd. It was more so of a lounge. It wasn't like your typical like bottle girl type of job. They weren't playing the latest and greatest music, but it was a lot of old men like young women. So I was stacking stacking bread, stacking bread, stacking bread. The tips was good. So at that point, I had already established, like, bartending is cool with me. Like, I can do this. So I ended up going from the first bar to being referred by my manager at that bar to another bar which was a little more like fast paced. It was a younger crowd, so that was good. I made my little money there. I met my little connections there, and she ended up referring me to another bar. Now this bar, most bars for the most part, you kind of get a low base pay, and then you just make majority of your money off your tips. This particular bar, I was getting a decent amount of money on my hourly, and I was getting decent tips. So I'm booming in that. And like my staff, like I met some of the most beautiful, ambitious, and caring women there. Like I love that staff. We're still friends to this day. Like they were everything. Shout out to my ladies. They embraced me. They took me under their wing. They showed me so many different things. Like anything that I was unfamiliar with, they made sure that they got me on the right track, and I'm so grateful for them for that to this day. So I'm doing good. I'm booming. I'm busting. I'm catching the tips. I'm tucking money in my savings. I got time to spend with my son. And this particular bar closed early, so it wasn't like I had to stay out till like 3 or 4 in the morning. Like this bar closed at 10. On the weekends, the latest it stayed open was to 12. But I still was making decent money because it was a longer shift. So we doing good. We serve food in there. I'm working my floor. I'm collecting my money. Then, boom, the pandemic hits. So Lori hops on the TV like, honey, it's over with for y'all. We closing the restaurants and the bars down. And that's just that on that. We'll let y'all know what's going on. So the management basically was telling us, like, this is our first time we ever experienced this, just like it's your first time ever experiencing this. So we can't really give y'all no answers. We'll call you when you call you and let you know when you're going to come back. So we're like, damn, okay, cool. Now, luckily, like I said, I had been saving money, so I wasn't extremely worried or necessarily concerned, but I knew I had to go into hustler mode because I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait around. Like, what am I going to do to get some more money? Like, granted, I have savings. I still need to bring money in. So what better time than then to launch my business? It was time for Assertive to come. Like, I always knew that I could sell. Like, based off brand ambassadoring and having marketing skills and seeing how they presented their brands and what was going on with their different businesses, I knew I was capable of selling because I always had sold for other people. So I needed a product. Now, granted, I was pushing my music. It's a little different with like a solid product because streams, you only can make a certain amount of money. I couldn't guarantee like my income was going to flow fluently. But I ended up calling my cousin. I was telling her my ideas and figuring out what I had going on. And it was like, boom, lingerie. Why not? Oh, I got a visitor. I'm gonna have to get So I'm like, boom, lingerie. Because at the time, I was seeing a lot of different women open boutiques for clothing. And women were selling hair, women were selling lashes. But nobody was kind of catering to the sexy. And I started feeling like I was encountering a lot of different women too that were facing battles with insecurity, and what better way to feel sexy or feel confident than dressing it up. So it was like assertive lingerie, confidence is key, and it just came from there. And it's my little baby and I love it and I'm so excited. Like, entrepreneur life is definitely not easy, but would I start all over and do it all over again? Absolutely. And does it make me happy? Absolutely. Like, the way that I would get up in the morning and be sluggish for my previous jobs, not bartending, of course, but like logistics, I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I gotta get up and get on the train and go out in the cold. Or to be like, ugh, I'm working for somebody else. I used to be thankful for Friday to come because it was like I was so thirsty to get to the weekend, but I don't feel like that with Assertive. Like, every day I wake up thinking about my business. I'm happy to work on my business. Like, even when I'm out partying, the slightest things can trigger me and be like, oh, I could do that and put that with this and do that with this. And then before you know it, I got a whole idea. So would I suggest following entrepreneurship or following your dreams and doing what you want to do? Absolutely. Like, it makes me extremely happy and I don't second guess it. Like I said, even when things get hard or don't go as planned, I'm still satisfied with figuring out how to do what I gotta do to make it work, because I gotta make it work. I don't have no other choice. So make sure you like, subscribe, and tell your friends about my channel. Share, because I'm a whole vibe, honey, and I know it. But that's that.